We're going to get to Car Coach Reports. We're going to have Lauren Fix in here, the car coach, and get her take, because we're talking about Labor Day. We're talking about unions and how much of auto workers and unions and everything else, you know, it's all connected. And we're talking about the future and future jobs. Guess what else is changing before our eyes? Our automobiles, the way we get our energy. CarCoachReports.com, LaurenFix.com. Subscribe to Car Coach Reports on YouTube.
Well, thanks for having me. Yeah, UAW is going to be a huge, huge factor. I think I saw somewhere, it may have been in Business First, there's like 6,400 members of the UAW here in the Buffalo area.
That's a lot of people.
That's a lot of people. That's a lot of jobs.
Right. And then we talked about how that differentiates, especially when it comes to electric and everything else. Mm-hmm. When you look at automobiles and why there aren't more union people, especially green energy, initiatives, there's less people at the assembly line.
Right. And there's a lot of things to think about there. First off, the unions were originally put in place way back in the 20s to protect workers because they want them to be safer, number one. They want to make sure they got a fair wage and make sure they got the benefits they needed. They got all these things that, that was planned. But what's interesting about that is now the UAW, if you said it was across the board, everyone's getting a fair wage, they'd still want to have their fingers in the soup pot because they do want to make sure that people are safe. There's OSHA regulations, all that, but still, if you look at the UAW and how much money they have private islands and private homes and golf courses. Trust me, Sean Fain, who's at the top, is doing okay.
And yet you're the first one to talk about the relationship between the automobile and the automobile industry and truly what we know as the middle class in America.
Yeah.
I mean, this is not just like, they deserve an honorable mention. Mm-hmm. They built it.
Right.
This is...
But it's I think there's a lot to this. I mean, when you're looking at the car companies and what they built. First off, if you want to talk about electric vehicles, we're down a whole nother path. But sticking with the unions itself, if there's less jobs, that's a problem. They take in less money. And that's why you're seeing a lot of car manufacturers building. Right now, you got Alabama. We've got Hyundai building a battery plant. There are also Kia's building another battery plant in West Point, Georgia. Atlanta is where everybody's moving, whether it be Mercedes, Porsche. Everybody's moving to the south to avoid the unions. So that's also interesting. And if you look at Volkswagen in Chattanooga, Tennessee, they're expanding that plant to do batteries as well, but it means less workers. And the more we get computerized, the more AI, the less people we need.
I'm avoiding the unions by going to right-to-work states.
Right.
But I'm also avoiding, so I can have fewer workers.
More automation.
But now what about what I'm putting in those batteries? What am I putting the products?
Is that
American?
That is not American. I don't care what you see. The Biden administration does not want us to mine here, and they've got a lot of push from the left saying, we don't want to mine here, but we want electric cars. Okay, so no mining in the U.S. We don't want to produce as much oil as we were here, but we want electric vehicles. Take a step back. Where does all the minerals come from? They come from China. China knows it. And I've done an article. I posted it everywhere from Newsmax, who I write for. It was all over the place. It was also on my YouTube channel, Car Coach Reports, talking about why China owns the auto industry, and they will in the future as long as we go green. Now, there is other options. Yes, you can buy hybrid cars. You can buy electric. You can buy gas. You can buy diesel. You can buy all these things. And I'm driving a diesel SUV, and I'm not getting rid of it. So, that's how I got here. But when what's frustrating is that the UAW is making demands on car manufacturers who are taking a loss in every electric car. They got to buy the minerals from China, right? And right now, and I'm not saying everybody's here, between $60 and $70 an hour they're getting paid. That is not their take-home pay for union workers. They got to pay their dues. And there's benefits and everything else that they have to pay. What they want is $150 an hour. And where did they get that idea from? Because UPS just got screwed over. They had to jack up their rates dramatically, which means everything that you have shipped in from Amazon and wherever is going to cost more money, because they got paid more. And yesterday, Southwest Airlines said they want more money, their pilots union, and that just keeps rolling down the line. So they're not. So
everyone that's fighting for these fights in 2023
impacts everyone.
And so in the old days, steel industry impacted automobiles and oil and energy production and rubber and every aspect of that car because it was American produced and resourced and employed. Do they have that same allegiance now? Is the automobile industry care what U.S. Steel's doing? Does the automobile industry care about ExxonMobil?
Yes.
Do they care about those? Because that's all.
They're all partners. So if there was a strike, which is supposed to happen September 13th, they've already got, they voted on this, a potential strike. 96% of the UAW union workers said they're going to strike because they want more money. I get it. I get that you want more money. But it will cripple the auto industry, which is already crippled. And all of these companies together, if you said, all right, we're shutting down, we can't do anything for whatever reason, it's 50% of the Dow Jones. What do you think that's going to do to the stock market? It's going to kill it.
Right.
Because you're affecting Exxon, you're affecting Michelin, you're affecting Bridgestone, you're affecting Ford, GM, Stellantis. And Ford, GM, and Stellantis are taking the big brunt of this because they have the most UAW workers in their plants. They're actually training white-collar workers to work on the production line because they got to get product.
That's when you know.
Well, remember the chips. We had the chip shortage, right?
Right.
And that killed them. Now they're finally getting chips in. I told you it'd be 23. Here we are in the middle of 23, and they're finally getting up to getting cars. I waited a year for my truck. Finally getting vehicles to lots. Our local dealers have cars. You want to crush the local dealers if they got nothing to sell? We're going back to raising up used car prices. There won't be anything to produce because it's going to be a standoff. UAW versus the manufacturers. Now, Ford has come back with a secondary offer. They poo-pooed it. Stellantis came back with a secondary offer. Sean Fain, who's the UAW president, got on YouTube Live and threw it in the trash.
Wow.
That's ridiculous.
So what does it mean to the average American that's, we had how many lists of cars that were under $20,000? How many affordable vehicles we could drive?
And that's shrunk since I posted that.
And it just keeps going down and down and down. And whether people understand inflation and, they understand what the value of a fiat dollar and what printing dollars do.
People don't even know what fiat dollars mean.
So, with nothing that's backing a dollar, there's no gold, there's no silver standard.
Right. It's just a piece of paper with... It's not even a promise anymore. It used to be a promissory note.
That it meant something.
Right.
So now the point is that if I give you more Monopoly money, you have more Monopoly money than me until someone says we're not playing Monopoly anymore.
We're playing digital Monopoly.
And that means nothing. So my point is that when people are finding themselves poorer and can't afford as much as they used to, and they're not making any more, and the prices are going up, when it comes to an automobile, that's just not, People
don't buy new cars, and it's going to hurt. Well, we haven't got August sales yet. We won't see that right away. I think by the end of the year, when we look at the big number, we're going to see a decrease in new car sales, an increase in used car sales. Thank goodness this price is softening. But I'm going to tell you right now, if there's a UAW strike and you're thinking about getting a car and you're kind of hedging, if the 13th hits and they strike, used car prices are about to go back up. Because there's going to be a shortage. There's not going to be enough production. And everybody else, I don't care who you are, everyone I've talked to who's buying a new car, they've waited, they're ordering something. They're still waiting. Like I told you, I waited a year. Of course, my truck sat in the rail yard here for 21 days, but that's another story.
Right. No, it's true. That was the other thing.
A shortage of people, shortage of transport.
Lauren Fix, CarCoachReports.com. Follow her on all social media at Lauren Fix. Go to LaurenFix.com, CarCoachReports.com. Follow her on YouTube at Car Coach Reports and subscribe to that, and you get all the updates.